The first question is number 2. It says the 11th term of an arithmetic sequence is 57. Okay, the 11th term of an arithmetic sequence is 57. So what that means is, okay, just to write that, I'm going to start with 2.1. It means T11 is equal to 57. And it's an arithmetic sequence. By now we should know that an arithmetic sequence has got a constant common difference. It has got a first term A. Okay? You should know that. The sum of the first and the fourth terms is 29. Right? Now, I want you to be aware that, don't get confused, this question does not involve series. It's only on the arithmetic sequence, not series. Okay? So, the sum of the first term, so it means T1 plus T4 is equal to 29. Okay? Now, be aware that the terms in a sequence, that is a sequence which is arithmetic, can also be written in terms of A and what? And D. So this equation, T1 plus T4 equal to 29, can be written using A and what? And D. Remember, T1 is equal to A. T4, remember when I wrote this, first term of an arithmetic sequence is A, the second term is A plus D, the third term is A plus 2D, the fourth term is A plus what? 3D. Okay, you need to know that notation. An arithmetic sequence can be written like this, using T, or you can write it using the terms, using the values of what? Of A and what? And D. So this will be T1 is A, T4 that will be A plus 3D. This is equal to 29. So I can end up having a new equation which will be 2A plus 3D is equal to 29. Alright? Okay, now be aware as well that this equation T11 is equal to 57 can also be written in terms of A and D. If I write it in terms of A and D, it's going to become A plus 10D is equal to 57. Do you remember when I told you that for an arithmetic sequence, the number of D's is one less than the number of terms in the sequence. That's why if you look at the terms in terms of A and D, I've got A first. That's our first term. The second term is A plus D. There's one D here. The third term is going to have A plus 2D. There are two what? 2Ds here. We are adding 2Ds. Then for the fourth term, it will be A plus 3D. We are adding what? 3Ds. These are 2Ds. But the number of terms is going to be one more than the number of Ds. Are you following this? Please raise your hand if you're following what I just said. For an arithmetic sequence, the number of D's, okay, is one less than the number of terms in the sequence. So here, n is equal to what? 1. Do we have a D? No. So D is going to be, number of D's is going to be 0. Here, n is equal to what? To 2. How many D's do we have? 1. You look at the third term, n is 3. How many D's do we have? 2. So T11 means n is equal to 11. How many D's do we have? 10. That's why I wrote A plus 10. Are you following that? Right? So I can call this one here my equation 1. Okay? And then this one becomes my equation 2. Once we do that, we go back to grade 10. Simultaneous what? Equation. That's why you have to do. You were doing simultaneous equations 2 years ago, and at that time you didn't understand that, or you didn't know that you are going to need that knowledge later on in metric. So if you can solve simultaneous equations, grade 12 sequence and series will give you a hard time. So if you forgot how to solve simultaneous equations, you go back to grade 10. Revisit that. Refresh yourself on solving simultaneous equations. Because that's the background. Maths is a continuous subject. What you did in grade 10, you need it in grade 11. When you're in grade 12, all the work you did in grade 10, grade 11, you need it in metric. Because we don't teach you all the topics. In actual fact, we assume that you have done the topics in the previous grade. Right? So, I can solve this by substitution. So, the first equation, it means A is going to be equal to 57 minus 10d. So, I'm taking the 10d to the right, and I end up having A equal to 57 minus 10d. Okay? So, I'm going to substitute that. Substituting into equation 2, right? So where there is A here, I'm going to put 57 minus 10d. Then I'll solve for A. Because the question was saying, determine the first 3 terms. Now to find those first 3 terms, I need to know what is A, what is D. You will never find those first 3 terms without knowing what is the first term, what is the value of D. Right? So on the next page, right, where there is A here, in equation 2, I'll put 57 minus 10d. Following that. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. So on the next page, I'll write 2 times. Now I'm substituting, just to emphasize here. I'm putting 57 minus 10d where there is A in equation what? 2. Okay? So it's more like I am 57 minus 10d. Okay? And you are A. Okay? The A in equation 2. Right? So I'm just going to come and displace you. That's all. So 57 is replacing A. That's like a simple illustration of it. So it will be 2 times 57 minus 10d. 2 times 57 minus 10d. Right? Then I've got plus 3d plus 3d is equal to 29. Then you simplify, you get 114 here minus 20d plus 3d equal to 29. So if I simplify this, in terms of the d's, I'll get minus 17d is equal to 29 minus 114. Okay, if I subtract 14, I'll get 100, then 1585. But it will be negative 85. So D is going to be 5. Okay? So I now know what is the common difference. It's a 5. You should be writing things down. We don't learn maths by observing only the thought. Alright? Then, yeah. No, because the way you're behaving, when I'm standing and I'm looking at the board, you're busy having your juice. No. It's a big no. No, it's a big no. Listen, I don't want to fight with you. Go and sit on the other side. It's not my fault. You caused it. Okay, you paused. You paused. Why didn't you have your juice during registration? You all listen. You all had registration. Why didn't she have her juice during registration? Why you chose to come and have it during a math lesson? So from today you sit there, where I will be seeing you when I'm standing. Okay. Listen, we don't have to fight because you are not allowed to eat in class or drink. Especially when it comes to this, maybe water, yes, but not that one. Alright, I need to carry. Please don't disrupt my lesson. You know what I'm talking about. Alright. So let's move on to the next question. The next question says, is minus 72 a term in the sequence? So this is a repetition of what I did earlier. Okay? So first thing, we know our general term is minus 3n plus 14. So where there's tn, we put minus 72. Right? If I simplify this, I can write it as 3n by taking the minus 3n to the left. I'm not supposed to teach you how to solve equations anyway in this grade. Right? Right. So it's not very difficult. The questions are very straightforward. Okay? So if you had some challenges yesterday, I hope that after going over it, it's a bit clearer to you now. Right? The purpose of the homework is for you to attempt and apply what you understood in class. Right? Then you go over it and then provide clarity if you have any. And then you're okay now. Okay. All right. So let's move on to number 6 quickly before the bell rings. Will I be able to finish? All right. I might start it and then I might have to stop. But I don't want to start and stop. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my lesson because we also have to sanitize. I've got another class coming. So I'll carry on tomorrow on this question. But listen, I'll give you homework today on the which involves the arithmetic series. Right? I'll give you homework on the arithmetic series. Then listen, then tomorrow I might have to introduce the geometric sequence. Okay. Right. I'm still waiting for some of you to give me your portfolio. I taught you last Okay, can you clear the desk? Then I'll use after it. All of you are here. Can you clear your desk? It's not my fault. Why do you fall asleep? Do you know that I go to bed? Listen. Can I have your attention? Can I have your attention? I go to bed. Listen. I go to bed almost after 12 every day, and I have to wake up around 5 a.m. So I sleep for almost like what? 4 hours. But when I get home from work, sometimes I take a nap for an hour or two, right? But you never see me sleeping in front of you, right? And you never see me making unnecessary silly mistakes whilst I'm doing. And you go to bed at what time?
I go to bed at 11.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I promise.
I suspect some of you will be busy playing with the phone whilst you're at bed.
I can't.
That's what I suspect. Right. Now, this year, listen. This year, if you want your grandchildren to say thank you very much, then you need to make sure that you minimize the time that you waste. So you have to use your time wisely. So that come January 2023, you'll be smiling. Okay, and I'm going to tell you all something. Can I have your attention? And I'm going to tell you something that probably you've never heard. Like, I have been your age. How old are you? 17. Right, I was 17 in around 2000. Right? And the environment where I grew up, there were some people who were smoking tobacco, some they were doing all sorts of things and all of stuff. But I surrounded myself with people who did not do those things. Right? It's a choice. Nobody will put a substance into your mouth without your consent. No one would take a drug and then I'm going to force you to take it. Or either through the nose or whichever way. I don't know. But listen, nobody can force you. Okay? So if you are in an environment which gives you the pressure to take these harmful substances, right? Imitate me. Okay? Imitate me. Okay? Now, listen. I don't smoke and I don't drink. Okay? It's a choice. Do you understand? My father, listen. When I grew up, my father used to drink, he used to smoke. But later on in his life, he stopped. So in my case, I told myself, I want to challenge this old man. I want him to feel guilty. So I don't. All right. So I don't smoke. I don't drink. Right? It's a choice that I made. Okay. Yeah. So I know that it's very difficult for some of you to see someone who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. So, I think some of you have taught you maybe from grade 10 and so on. If you come closer to me, you never smell any cigarette. You never smell any alcohol. No, never. Okay. And you never say, but Mr. Chiponda, maybe there's something wrong with you. Have you ever come to my class and said, I think today Mr. Chiponda is different?
No, who does the eater, sir? I'm gonna tell you.
But if I see you again, I Well, maybe she's hiding it, but she must stop because I'll catch you one day. Okay, you can sanitize yourself and body.
So must we kind of put photos and
Yeah. I'm just
wait
correcting
for
them.
the yes.
Then we will try to put the covers and stuff.
The homework wasn't bad, but she had to just read through the examples in the book, and then it made understanding it a lot easier.
Alright. You are looking to get it as well, please?
So I'm going to get
silent for a few seconds? Make yourself and your team there. Can you be silent? Yeah, just be silent. Right, good morning, everyone. Can you please just check out your math book? I just want to see the homework I gave you yesterday. Please don't try to make a plan to do the homework now. Because nobody's going to be sent to jail for doing it. But you pay a price later. No, you pay a price. For not doing the homework, you pay a price later. There's no need to try and make a plan now and say no. Please, I'm checking the homework I gave you yesterday, the one which is on the board. That's the homework I'm checking. Right? Listen, I don't expect you to talk without control, please. You need to control your focus. Can I have your attention? Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention? Right, first thing, I just want you to know that in my case, because I know that most of you, it's your first time to be in my class, all right? I think only a few of you have taught in the past. Right? You need to know that it's very important for you to do your homework, right? Don't think I've forgotten. I need to see your work. I need to see your work. Right? So if I give you homework, please, I don't expect you to get the correct answers. No. Okay? Sometimes you can struggle. Right? So it's understandable. So when I'm moving around to check your work, I'm not checking if the answer is correct. I'm checking if you try to do the homework. Trying is always the best way of learning. Okay, with maths you can struggle, that's normal. Okay, it's normal to struggle with this subject. If you don't struggle, it means there's something wrong somewhere. Right? Now, those of you who are lazy, because if you didn't do the work, it's a sign that you are lazy. And it's a huge shame that this is our second week of school. Things are going to get tough as we move. Okay, I'm being honest with you. We're going to do more challenging stuff as we move. So you need to tighten your belt now. Get into the tune of being in matric now. If you are not on the maths group, you need to make sure that you are there. Okay? You need to make sure that you are there. I think we gave someone the responsibility to add your name, isn't it? Yeah. Then you must add her.
Good morning, Kingsway. Can we please have your attention? Jared van Greelen, grade 10. Jaden Matthew, grade 11. Travis Matthew, grade 11. And Luazi Langela, grade 11. Please can you meet Mr. Hugo at the finance office with your bag of the sharing rate? Thank you.
All right. Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention? Right. If you did the work, please just mark your work. I'm going to go over it now. If you didn't do it, you are going to disadvantage yourself because some of the questions that I'm going to do, it will be your first time to see them. Okay, you're supposed to do them yesterday. All right, so the question says, the first question is, okay, this is question 2. It says the 11th term of an arithmetic sequence is 57. So T11 is equal to 57. Okay? T11 is equal to 57. The 11th term of an arithmetic sequence is 57. So this is the equation for that. T11 is equal to 57. Then it says, and the sum of the first and the fourth terms is 29. So the sum of T1 and T4 is equal to 29. So we have another equation. Okay? Now we don't know the first term, obviously we don't know any other terms besides the information which is provided. Now this question was not on the arithmetic series. Okay? The question was not on the arithmetic series. The question was not testing you to determine the sum of a series. It was only on the arithmetic sequence. Right? Then you need to know that this equation, like this one here, it can be written using A and D. Okay? It can be written using the first term A and the common difference D. So T11 is the same as saying A plus 10D is equal to 57. So this is the same as A plus 10D equal to 57. Remember what I told you, I think yesterday or the day before. The number of terms in a sequence is one more than the number of D's in that sequence. Okay? I told you that. So here, the first term is A. So N is 1. What is the value? Do you have any D there? D is 0. A plus D, that's the second term, N is equal to 2. How many D's do we have? 1. This is T3, N plus 2D, right? N is 3. How many D's? 2. So to write an equation for T11, which has got A and D, the equation will be A plus 10D equal to 57. This becomes your first equation. Okay? We have two unknowns that we need to determine, A and D. Therefore, we have to create two equations and solve them simultaneously. That's why you did simultaneous equations back in grade 10, 2 years ago. At that time, you didn't understand or know that you might need to apply that later on. Right? Then the second equation, it comes from this equation here. T1 plus T4 is equal to 29. We can write it using A and D as this T1 is equal to A. Right? Then T4 is going to be equal to A plus 3D. And that is equivalent to 29. Then you add the right terms, A plus A, that will give you what? 2A plus 3D, you get 29. That's your second equation. Right? The rest after that, it's grade 10 work. Solving simultaneous equations. So if I take this equation 1 and equation 2 to a grade 10 class, they will solve for A and D. And all of you in this class, I expect you to be able to solve for that value of A and D without any excuse. Right? So, to carry on here, we can use the method of substitution. So in equation 1, we make A the subject, we get 57 minus 10D. Then we have to substitute the A in the second equation by 57 minus 10D. And all that is grade 10 work. Okay? So, when you substitute the value of A, you simplify, you get D equal to 5. Those of you did the work, you can get that. Yes, and thank you very much. Right? Then, to get A, we use the simplified version of equation 1. So A is equal to 57 minus 10D. We substitute the D, which is a 5. Then we simplify, you get A equal to 7. So D is 5 and A is 7. Okay? Then you list the three terms now. Our first term, 7, you add 5 to it to get 12, add another 5 to get the third term, which is 17. So our three terms are 7, 12, and 17. Alright, so you mark your work. If you didn't do the work or you got an incorrect answer, you need to copy down the correct. Right? I need to move on to 2.2 quickly. Now, once you are able to determine A, or you have managed to determine A and G, then the next question now should be easy, because we need to find the nth term of the sequence. Okay? Now, 2.2 is more like it's a grade 10 question, because you can use your grade 10 knowledge to do it. Right? So A is 7, D is 5. Then you use the grade 12 formula, or you can use the grade 10 one. Tn equal to A plus n minus 1 times D, you simplify, and you get Tn equal to 5n plus 2. Okay, it's not difficult. Sometimes I believe that people make maths difficult. You can make the subject difficult because of your attitude here. Okay, and also laziness. Maths is not for lazy people. Right? Is there anybody else with a question? Let's put on the question, then let's move on. The next question, you're supposed to determine whether 100 is part of the sequence. Is 100 part of the sequence? Do we have a term which has a value of 100 in the sequence? Right? Now, it's more like you are trying to prove whether the 100 is in the sequence or not, so you have to do some working out. So write your general term first, then you substitute Tn by 100, then you simplify to solve for n, you get n equal to 19.6 or 19 and 3 over 5. Now, because 19 and 3 over 5 is not a natural number or a positive integer, it therefore means that 100 is not part of the sequence. Please take note, you must give a reason. You can't just say no. Okay? Why are you saying no? Okay? So the reason will be because n is not a positive integer, or you can say n is not a natural number. Okay? Alright, if you had some challenges, is it clearer now? Huh? Please, just be honest. If you had some challenges, is it clearer now? Okay, then you must ask a question. Which part is not clear to you so far? The what? 2.1. Okay, I know why 2.1 can be an issue. Do you know that an arithmetic sequence can be written using A and D? And if you know that, you shouldn't have any problems. Because, as I said earlier, T11 can be written as A plus 10D. Then you equate that 57. You have the first linear equation. Right? You know that T1 is equal to A, T4 is equal to A plus 3D. You add the 2, you get 29, you simplify, you come to this equation. Then you solve the two equations simultaneously. Solving simultaneous equations is a very important concept, but it's not taught in metric, it's taught in the lower grades. Okay? All right? Right? Then you simplify solving simultaneous equations until you get to D equal to 5 and A equal to 7. Then you know that the first term A is 7. How do you get the second term? You add A to D. So it becomes 7 plus 5, which is 12. The third term, it's A plus 2D. But D is what? 5. 5 times 2, 10. 10 plus 7, 17. All right? Okay. Then the general term. Honestly speaking, if you are in the treat, actually in this class here, this is the red one, the second top class is in the grade. Right? Be aware, be aware. If you can't find the general term of an arithmetic sequence, something is wrong. I'm telling you something is wrong. Right? Because you can use your knowledge of grade 10 here. Especially after knowing, can you stop talking? Especially after getting the 3 terms of the sequence, it becomes more like a grade 10 question. If I take this to a grade 11 class, ask them to find the general term, they should be able to do it. So you have more than one way of getting the general term. Are you telling me that in grade 10 you didn't do the linear pattern?
We haven't done any
Okay, but okay, all right. But last year, your grade 11 teacher was supposed to teach the linear pattern because for you to understand the quadratic pattern, you need to know the what? The linear. So surely you did the linear last year. Okay. All right. Let's get on. The second question, it's actually a repetition of everything I did in question 2. So the question says, the sum of the second and the sixth terms of an arithmetic sequence is 4. So the sum of the second and the sixth terms. So T2 plus T6 is a 4. T2 plus T6 is a 4. Then you must know that T2 can be written in terms of A and D. It will be A plus D. T2 is equal to A plus D. And T6 is equal to A plus 5D. So A plus A gives you 2A, D plus 5D gives you 6D, and you get your 4. So this becomes the equation 1. Okay? This is now equation 1. Your second equation, if you read the second part of the question, it says the third term is 24 more than the 11th term. Yeah, I know that that sentence would have confused someone. I hope you know that there's a difference between spoken English and written English. You can speak, but you might fail to understand a sentence. Right? So here, the third term is 24 more than the 11th term. Now the question is, which one is greater, T3 or T11? T3. 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 Okay? The sentence says the third term is 24 more than the 11th term. Therefore, T3 is more than T11. By how much? By 24. So, what happens is, can I have your attention? Okay, before I carry on, do you have a question? Which part? You can't say plus or minus. Okay, loop here. Can I have your attention, please? Can Can I have your attention? It says the third term is 24 more than the 11th term. So T3 is greater than what? T11. By how much? By 24. So what that means is if you add 24 to T11, you get T3. Or if you subtract 24 from T3, you get what? T11. Are you following that?
Yes.
So this equation here, it can be written in two ways. I wrote it as T3 is equal to T11 plus 24. You can also rewrite it as T3 minus T11 is equal to 24. You can also write it as T3 minus 24 is equal to T11. So there are three ways of writing. Okay? Three ways of writing. Right? So I decided to rewrite it like that because it makes things easier when I'm creating the equation in terms of A and D. So it's T3 minus T11 is equal to 24. Okay? So we move from here. Okay? We know that T3 is A plus 2D. We know that T11 is A plus 10D. But because A plus 10D is a binomial, we put it in what? In brackets. There is a minus sign here, which comes from here. Because of this minus, we have to put A plus 10D inside brackets. Okay? Then you simplify. Now, if you simplify, it becomes very interesting because this A here and that A are going to end up cancelling out. So you end up having A minus A, which is 0. Then 2D minus 10D will give you minus 8D. Then you divide both sides by minus 8D, you get D equal to negative 3. So the common difference is a negative 3. Yes, the common difference is not always positive. Please, if you've got a question, ask. If there's anyone who has got a question, please ask. Is there anyone who has got a question? Can I have your attention? Can I have your attention, please? Hey, can I have your attention? If there's anybody who has got a question, please, this is your moment to ask. Because I need to carry on to the next part of the question. But I also need to let you know that I'm not supposed to teach you how to solve equations. You have to know how to solve equations. So some of the things that I'm doing here is basic knowledge of solving equations, which you are expected all of you to know. You did equations grade 9, grade 10, grade 11. Then you need to refresh yourself. You need to refresh yourself. Right? What I'm gonna do, listen, what I'm gonna do, if you want, I can share with you a grade 11 textbook or even a grade 10 textbook. If you want. Yes, I can. Stop laughing, stop laughing. Listen. I don't have the time to go over grade 10 work and grade 11 work in matric. It's not possible. Okay? So if you are still rusty, you forgot your basics, you need to refresh yourself as quickly as possible. If you look at the work schedule which I gave you there, the first topic, sequences and series, it doesn't say equations. Because you are expected to know how to solve equations. Yes?
So I know you're busy, but is it possible to like get a measure if you want Yes, we do, but like we forgot. It's been a while. Something. You know how this book is
That's why I'm saying I can share with you a textbook. You just go to a topic on equations, you refresh yourself. You have done it before. So it should not take you long to recall that. But listen, I need to warn you because I don't want to end up to having anyone being disappointed. When you are in matric, there is no teacher who will start teaching you from scratch. That's not possible. Okay? Be aware of that. Any subject, whether it's math, physical science, the teacher or accounting, the teacher won't have the time to go over everything from grade 10. It's not possible. Right? So you might have to refresh yourself. Okay? If you pass matric, you go to university. All the topics you do in the first year, you need them in the second year. Okay? That's how it is. But solving equations, it's grade 9 and grade 10 way. You can't say you forgot. Totally, no. It's a big no, no, no. All right. So you solve for A, you get 11. Now, after getting your D here, remember the D is negative 3. So you use the value of G, which is negative 3. You substitute, okay? You substitute into equation, okay? In this case, I substituted obviously into equation 1, right? Then you get A equal to 11. So your T1 is 11, T2 is 8, T3 is 5. Right? Then 3.2, we need to find the general term. Again, that's grade 11, right? So Tn equal to 8 plus n minus 1 times d, you substitute, you simplify, you get Tn equal to minus 3n plus 14. Okay, so this is the general term. If you did the question, your Tn is equal to minus 3n plus 14. Right? Then 3.3, we need to determine whether, in fact, in this case, we wanted to find the value of the 17th term. Now, that's easy. Again, it's grade 10 and 11 work. So, after getting the general term, you substitute n equal to 17. And if you simplify, you get T17 equal to negative 37. Okay? Are you following that? Right, then the next question, we need to prove that minus 17 is part of the sequence or not. Okay, so Tn is equal to minus 3n plus 14. That's the general term.
Okay. So you don't use A plus A minus 1?
No, it's not necessary because the question is saying determine the value of the 17th term. If you wanna, if Okay, if you want to do it this way, can I have your attention, please? There are two ways of getting the answer here. But the best way is to use the general term you got in 3.2. But if you don't want to use that, then T17, I can just show you another way. We know that T17 is equal to A plus 16 what? 16D. I hope all of you are aware of this. Yes, sir. Right? What is our A equal to? It's 11. Right? D is negative what? Negative 3. So we get 11 plus minus 48. And this gives you minus what? 37. So, so you can do it this way or you can do it this way. But the way that I did it here, okay, on the whiteboard, it's much better because that's what you are used to from the lower grade. Yes.
Which one would you prefer?
Which one? What?
Which one general?
The first way that I did.
But so what if the general term is not being using that general term? Then going to
Okay.
going back we say
All right. Have you ever heard of what are called the CA marks? Huh? You know what is CA mark? Right. Let's say, for example, I made a mistake of writing an incorrect general term or finding an incorrect general term, right? If I came on to 3.3 using an incorrect general term, but I substitute correctly and I simplify correctly, I'll get full marks. You know that.
you get full marks like this very good.
Listen, can you pay attention carefully and hear what I'm saying? I'm saying, let's say the general term was not correct. But then when I do 3.3, I carry on with an incorrect general term. But my substitution here is correct, my simplification is correct, and the final answer is also correct based on an incorrect general term. You get full marks. But, listen, but, there is a big but. If you make one silly mistake, okay, you get 0. So let's say you substitute the 17 correctly, but when you are simplifying, you make a mistake, then you get an incorrect final answer. You probably get maybe 1 out of 2, because or you can get 0. Okay. All right. Okay. I hope you took note of this. This is method 2. If you are clever, you can write it in your network book as well. Okay, you can add it in your network book. This is method 2 for 3.3. Method 2 for 3.3. All right, let's carry on. Then 3.4, we need to determine if minus 72 is in the sequence. So write your general term. It's linear or it's arithmetic. Substitute Tn by minus 72. Then you simplify. You get n equal to 28 and 2/3. Right? Now, because this is not a natural number and it's not a positive integer, the conclusion would be minus 72 is not a term in the sequence. Why? Because n is not a positive integer, or n is not a natural number. Are you following that? Yeah. Right? Is this an integer?
No, but like there's no negative.
Okay, well, if you want, we can remove. You might not need to. Okay, I need to be okay, you need to be very careful. I need to write positive here because n cannot be a negative integer. Right? So our answer here is not an integer. Right? It's a rational number, but it's a common fraction. So because it is not an integer, it therefore means that minus 72 is not a what? A term in the sequence. It's because of this. But please take note where if you write positive integer, it also means natural number. Please be aware of that. Right? Positive integer means that it's the same as what? Natural number. So where I wrote positive integer, you can say it is not a natural number. Remember, your natural number starts from 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Remember that. Okay. So we can put natural number here. It is not a natural number. Okay. But always, in terms of integers, your position n must be a positive integer. Always. Right? Then, let me see if I've got time to start that question. Well, just allow me to start this question. Right? Make sure you pay attention because this is slightly more complex than the other two. Right? So,